latest podcast, where we're going to be talking about co-location customers and how they can benefit from hybrid cloud.
Yep.
And I suppose a good place to start is defining what hybrid cloud means to us in this context and what it would mean to our customers in this context.
Yeah.
Because lots of different people have different
means different people.
Yeah. So, do you want to sort of give us an idea of what it means to us?
It's combining our cloud solutions with our co-location solutions to kind of deliver a combined and more suitable solution, I guess.
Yeah, I think I've heard you mention in the past is maybe hybrid hosting.
Yeah, some would see that as hybrid hosting rather than hybrid cloud.
Yeah.
Some people would look at hybrid cloud as combining two public cloud platforms together, and neither one is right or wrong particularly. I think it just means different things to different people.
Yeah.
Everyone likes to do it slightly differently, don't they?
Yeah. Okay. All right. So our angle in this case is a combination of co-location and cloud, making those work together.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. And in this discussion, we'll be looking at what we've seen in the co-location market in relation to how that plays with cloud, what we've seen our customers doing, our co-location customers, what they've been asking us for, what a typical evolution from just basic colo into using cloud as well might look like.
Sure.
The time scales, what's involved, what the process is. Okay.
Well, I think people have been doing it for years. Maybe not even thinking about it being a hybrid model, but businesses have been using data centers for a long time, and I think they've been using cloud for a long time, and just naturally putting different types of workloads in different hosting architectures, but it's not always made easy to combine the two together, particularly when it comes to network connecting to each other, and maybe also different providers connecting to each other. You want to get that flexibility.
Definitely, yeah. I think there's certainly some aspects going on in the world that have really accelerated the hybrid model. People not being able to get all the kit. There's loads of things going on now that potentially accelerate that process moving forward.
And co-location, although it's very suitable for more static workloads, it can be quite restrictive in terms of the elastic workloads, or become quite expensive to put workloads that sometimes will peak up here, sometimes will fall down here in terms of the resource usage. If you're putting that into a colo environment, you have to accommodate the peaks. So even though 70% of the time you might be somewhere in between, so you're constantly overcompensating to make sure you've got enough resources for the peak usage. Whereas combining the two means you can put some workloads that are more static into a very physical server orientated environment, and that'll accommodate a certain level. And then you can put your peak workloads into a cloud platform that is connected directly into that colo environment. So it makes it more elastic. Colo's still absolutely got its place, but then cloud can really either top up or complement the standard colo rack, I think.
Yeah, I think in addition to that as well, just the speed we can actually implement the cloud rather than co-location. People have to wait for servers, kit, that kind of thing. Cloud we can provision within an hour or so, and you can just run with these deals that are getting done essentially.
It's less of an initial commitment as well, because to take on a rack in a data center, you need to know that you are going to use X amount of servers and Y amount of power, and quite often that will be that will accommodate in-place systems maybe that you're either taking off on-premise or moving from another facility, whereas cloud might be a completely new deployment where you don't necessarily know how much hardware is going to be used, or how much memory or storage is going to be used to run the application. So cloud, it might turn into a colo solution when workloads kind of
They're
establish themselves, and you know what you're looking at from a resource point of view. So you might then choose to move that cloud solution into a physical
just to consolidate it.
Yeah. So the two will work together. One will let you get into actually hosting that application or that data, and then over time you might choose to move that into a more static server environment.
That sounds like quite an important point you mentioned about colo still has its place then.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
It's not all or nothing either way. This is a way that they can work together.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, colo, owning your own servers and your own your own switches and firewalls and what have you can long term be more cost effective for certain static workloads and putting them all in the cloud, because what cloud's very good for is you're only having to pay for what you use when you use it on variable workloads. But colo, if those workloads are always the same, colo can be, from a cost point of view, they can be more attractive longer term. Whereas cloud is great when you're not quite sure where that workload is going to be, because you're not having to overspec your environment.
Yeah, not having to overcommit.
That's
set
it.
decisions in stone.
Yeah. So by combining the two together, you can really optimise or minimise you kind of paying for resources that aren't required, and taking control of costs where they are known, and that will be within a rack.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you've sort of mentioned a few of the trends there, and what we're seeing. What else have we been seeing from our customers then, in terms of what they've been asking us for and how we've been able to help by introducing the idea of cloud?
Well, I think there's quite a few solutions we've looked at recently. I think certainly what we're finding is the likes of the big name brands, some things aren't quite ready for market, I would say. There's certain aspects that don't work, or perhaps isn't enough flexibility in, say, the networking side of things. So I think we're quite nicely filling a gap there, that we're kind of getting people to start their cloud journey. They may already have colocation services with us. They're trying a bit of proof of concept, so they'll take some cloud space and really try and make sure the solution works before committing to it. So I think certainly from our point of view, it gives them that flexibility.
I think we see people at different stages of their own either cloud journey or transformation journey, and then they don't necessarily know what the best next step is. But if cloud, they know they need to be looking at cloud, but maybe they don't know what type of cloud or what type of provider they need, how much support they need, how much resources it's going to take for them internally to turn that cloud solution into something that complements what they've had in a rack for the past 5 or 6 years, or even replace what they've had in a rack for the last 5 or 6 years. So I don't think it's sometimes they don't even look at it as cloud or hybrid cloud or hybrid. They just want something that's going to work for them long term and give them flexibility between the two, because sometimes you just don't know until you can actually jump in there and do it. And that makes cloud a lot less of a risk than colo, because once you've committed to the rack and bought the hardware and invested in the network, that's what it is. With cloud, it's less of an initial investment. As Seb said, you can do more of a proof of concept. It's easier for providers to provide a test environment for a period. I mean, you can't really provide a test rack with test 20 servers and test firewalls. So it removes a lot of the risk. And long term, they might move, as we said, an environment that's been built in a cloud solution into a rack when they know that they've optimised the actual setup and then move on to the next one, build it in the cloud, move it onto hardware over a period of time. It just gives more possibilities, I think, especially when you combine it with the same provider.
I think sector-wise as well, we've had quite a large uptake from the kind of MSP sector, and I think that's mainly due to a skills gap, probably, because obviously the bigger name brands, they're very specific in the way they work, and the way the staff are trained to use those systems. I think we also bridge the gap quite nicely in that it's a kind of single pane of glass, which is, it's not too much of a step from those that are used to servers and network administration. That step isn't so big, so the kind of lesser trained first, second line staff can quickly adapt to it and get using it and obviously make a difference quite quickly.
Yeah, and that sort of kind of taps into a bit. I've just picked up on what you said, Matt, about some colo customers would have been used to their environment for several years, so it can feel like a big step. It's sort of making that transition a bit.
Yeah, you don't have to commit. You don't have to commit to one or the other. So I'm sure there's plenty of potential cloud customers that found out that maybe they weren't quite ready for that, or maybe their applications weren't quite ready for that. So that actually colo is the best route forward. At least if you can find a provider that will do a hybrid solution between the two, then again you're not jumping into the unknown and making commitments before you're ready to do that. Most cloud providers or most hosting providers will let you test the solution, because no cloud is going to be the same. Even if you go to two providers that are providing a VMware environment, they might provision it differently. It'll be running on different hardware with different speed of processors, and some will be using big storage devices. Others will be using virtual vSAN like we do. So there's many differences. There's probably more differences between clouds than there is between colo is colo. It's your servers, it's your equipment, you're in control of all of that stack. Whereas when you're choosing a cloud provider, they're the ones buying the hardware and speccing it and supporting it. So it can be quite different. But then that comes down to just making sure you know enough about who you're working with and how they operate.
Which is where having the chance to try it out can be quite helpful, I guess.
Definitely so. Yeah.
That's it. Because you'll only learn about the amount of resources you need by testing the specific cloud that you're looking to potentially use longer term. Because somebody using our cloud platform will probably experience different performance than other cloud platforms that might be built on different chipsets and server hardware. There's a big difference between them. Not to mention network capacity and network speed and how much control they've got over the firewalls. We like to give our customers complete control over the platform, so they can configure the load balancing or their internal network, the external network, the firewall rules, where some providers will want to keep a lot of that managed by themselves for either commercial reasons or through limitation of the platform. But some of those answers you'll only find out by testing it and trying it. And then when you try and link it to the colo platform to make it properly hybrid, you're only going to find these things out by doing it. You can do some planning and some design work, but when it comes down to actually getting it done, you need to make sure that you've got somebody that will work with you to deliver it.
Well, sort of just jumping ahead a bit in terms of where we were going to go next. You talked there about having different experiences with different cloud hosting providers, and there's a distinction to be made between a smaller independent company, like not necessarily ourselves, but we class ourselves as an independent hosting company compared to one of the much bigger options out there. What kind of differences, you touched on them there, but what kind of differences might somebody that's starting on this journey expect to see? How would they experience a smaller independent company compared to one of the big boys?
Well, I think that's probably quite an easy one to answer. I think our business kind of works on consultancy as the key focus. So we are real people. You can come in, have a conversation, work closely with the tech team. We can actually sit down, have a chat, understand what you need, and come up with a solution together. Certainly from the bigger names, it's not the case where you can sit around a table and actually discuss what you need. And likewise, the support off the back of that, we're just a phone call away, pretty much instantaneous support. I know with some of the bigger names, you could log a ticket, probably wait for 3 days before you've got something sorted out, where that's just not what we're after. We want to have an easy to administer platform, and one that's very well supported as well.
Yeah.
I think that there are people for who those larger ones are more suitable, but then they've probably got a lot more internal resource to, they might have internal developers, they might have people who are specifically qualified to develop those platforms, certified to a certain level, and that's fine. They've got an environment there that is perfect for their requirements, but then we don't necessarily compete with that, because our service is very, very different, and we do pride ourselves really on that level of support, which to some people won't be as relevant, but to the people where it is relevant and important to know who you're talking to, and for somebody to know your platform and the nuances of how yours is designed and what it's linked to, then maybe the larger ones aren't the ones they need to be dealing with. It's horses to a large degree. It's just them understanding where they sit, and most of them do already. If they are of a certain size, they know they probably need to be talking to a certain type of provider. Which is fair enough.
Okay. Well, I think we've got maybe kind of a bit of a case study to talk about. We have what we've actually done for a customer that's come in, a colocation customer. Why did they come to us, and how have we helped them?
Yeah, so we had quite a large client approach us. Essentially, long story short, one of the larger cloud names had a few limitations, so they couldn't proceed forward with that. So we've actually done a staged hybrid approach with these guys. So we've obviously demoed our cloud environment. They're overall really happy with that. I think through the conversations, though, great kind of few consultancy sessions, it's become quite clear that they're not quite ready to fully jump into the cloud. So we've kind of got them set up in a colocation, a couple of racks downstairs, and then we're just moving them on to a proof of concept platform, and they're going to trial it over the next kind of 18 months, make sure they're 100% happy, and slowly move their servers and workloads onto the cloud platform. So I think in most cases it's quite fair to say it's usually a journey. It's got that flexibility, so they can really try everything, make sure everything is kind of crossed, and they're 100% happy before they make that jump. So
they've come to you initially not knowing whether they should be going cloud or colo.
Exactly.
So they've been able to kind of take the colo with us because they know that they're not quite there yet with the cloud, or it might be more complex than they initially thought. But by working with us, that transition from one to the other, or combining the two, is going to be a lot easier for them. So they've not had to completely commit the next 5 to 7 years on one particular type of platform. They know they've got options. And I think more and more customers now are looking at data centers when they take one service or the other, and just making sure that data center's got other services that can offer them different routes as they grow the platform, or applications change, or the world changes. So we're seeing more and more of that, and that's one of the reasons we went into cloud hosting in the first place, is so that customers aren't locked into one particular type of hosting by dealing with us. we can enable that. We can also enable people using other private public clouds, AWS and Azure. Those options are there from any data center really, because you can connect to anyone from any data center facility that is half decent. So I think they got more comfort from knowing there were more options for them going forward.
I think from our point of view, we can be a little bit more flexible in contractual terms. So at least they know whatever they need to do in future, we'll work with them and make those needs met.
Yeah, it's not shutting any doors, is it?
It doesn't make sense to commercially lock people into one solution when you can provide a mixture of, and that's why we see customers staying with us for 7 to 10 years as that technology evolves and the needs of their customers or the staff, if it's internal stuff, either working from home or whatever it might be. As that changes, we can offer options for them being able to accommodate that. Yeah.
Okay, well, I think probably to finish off with would be, we talked about a stage approach. How might that look to a customer if they come to us and say, right, we've either got Colo with you already, or we want to start using your services from fresh? What would that entail?
Well, I think it's probably different for every customer. I think flexibility is at the heart of what we do. So we can obviously give people trials of the cloud solutions, obviously free state co-location space, and then we can work on a plan on how to get them moved forward in future. So I think really whatever scenario we come up against or whatever timelines we're against, we've got some solutions. We're willing to work with people. We'll sit down, run through plans with people and really be flexible to their needs and make suggestions that we think will probably be the best route forward.
Yeah. Again, it comes down to not locking them in. It doesn't do us any favours not to be flexible. Where we provide multiple solutions, let's offer them a mix of those solutions, which on day one might be 10%, one 90% of the other, and that might balance out 50-50. It might go completely the other way. We need to enable it instead of getting in the way of that. And maybe multiple providers, that's harder to achieve because that they haven't got the same interest then necessarily, whereas using multiple solutions from the same provider, they're more likely to be flexible on the commercial side.
Okay. I think that probably is a good place to finish up.
Cover most things.
So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.